Alright, so now that we have finished the animation, the only thing left is to color the cake and the icing. So I want to give it attribute level color so that it's easier to build a shader later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the measure SOP and calculate the curvature. Okay, so take a measure, but we're going to do two of them. Okay, because you get multiple ways to calculate curvature. So if you come to, first of all, change the element type to points and then change from area to curvature. Okay, you get a whole bunch of things. You get stuff like gradient. We don't really want any of these. Okay, so let's just change it to curvature. And so you'll get a default one called curvedness. Okay, but you'll also get other stuff. So you get like Gaussian, and then you get mean, and you get principled. So principled is actually nice. If you don't see it in the viewport, like if you select something else, it doesn't really show up. Sometimes even if you select the measure, it doesn't show up. So just press enter in the viewport and you'll see it over there. Okay, so within principle, you get a lot of things. You get like smaller and larger. You get signed or absolute. We're going to keep it to signed. And then you have curvature or direction or vector. So we don't want any of these. We just want curvature. So let's call this curvature A. And then I also want to calculate, like we'll take another measure and again change it to points and curvature. And this one we'll keep to curvedness, and this we'll call curvature B. Okay, so we have these two things. And what I want to do is I want to mix these two together to get, and then mix them using like a Y gradient. So one of the ways, if you have like the game dev tools, okay, so if you just type in gradient, so you'll get something called as labs color gradient. And what that does is it basically just allows you to, it just generates a gradient. Okay, like in whatever axis you choose. But we can't really use this directly because we also need to have, we want to mix these together. Okay, so we'll do it through a warp. Okay, but before that, what we'll do is, in order to keep the controls on the outside, let's take a color node. Okay, so I'm going to take two color nodes. Like one will be for this, and then we'll do another one, and that will come in from here. And so this will be curvature B. So I'll just do a control C, control V. I'll say ramp from attribute and control V. So you'll get that. And then I'll do, this one will be curvature A. So same thing, ramp from attribute and curvature A. So curvature A, you need to probably adjust a little bit. So let's take this to around, you can sort of come into the measure and like up here, it gives you a range for the ramp. So it's like minus 0.2 to 0.1. Okay, so you need to sort of adjust it accordingly. So let's do minus 0.2. Yeah, see, to 0.2. Yeah. So we get this. And the same thing here. I think this one is fine. Okay, but what we want to do is, I just want to color this to something a little pale, because this will be the bottom half of the cake. Okay, so something like that. I think that should be okay. The colors you can choose, like if you want to do a chocolate cake or a vanilla cake, you can kind of, modify accordingly. This part we will animate. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get the top half should get darker, because that's like where you want, like the heat is touching, and the cracks will be lighter. Okay, so we'll keep this to something like that, more towards orangish. And then I can just, if I just set this for now, just to show you what we'll get, is if I make this darker. Okay, I think we need to adjust this a bit more. So let's make the 0.3. Yeah, perfect. And then this should be 0.1. Yeah, there we go. Not red. Let's go a little bit towards brown. Maybe you can go lesser still. Yeah, but we can sort of maybe push it in. Yeah, so let's say this is the top half. But this will be animated. Okay, so we don't want this like, let's say as it starts to rise up is when we want it to start animating. Okay, so this part, We'll keep it to the same color as this. I'll just do right click, copy parameter, come in here and paste value, and then do an alt click. And then let's say we come up to like the part where it gets fully, inflated. Okay. And then click here and then make it darker. Yeah. So what you'll get is like as it, it's a little slow, but as it starts to come up, you'll see it, get darker. See, there you go. And now what we want to do is we want to mix these together. So we'll take a warp, we'll take an attribute warp, and first and second. And what we want to do is firstly, I want to import the color from the second input. So we'll take the second input and import the color. So if you want to see it, you can just plug the result into CD and there you go. And then we also want to take a relative to bounding box so we can get the y-axis. And again, do vector to float, and we can do a ramp. This will be a spline ramp and call it height, and just plug this in. Okay, and then we just take a mix and we mix the first color and the second color, and this will be the bias, and plug that into CD, and there you go. So the top half gets darker, and so as you come, when it's down here, it will mostly be almost similar color. See, so this point it's almost similar color, right? And then as it comes here, it will start to pick up color. See, and you can adjust it. Like if you want to, like make it a little bit stronger like that. See, so we can do something like this. So then the color is only like, where the heat touches it. Okay, so this is the cake. Okay, and then we'll also just quickly take care of the icing color, which is fairly simple. Okay, so we're just going to do like a curvature based thing and just give it some color. So let's just come up here. Let's also like temporarily, I'll just reduce the, the VDB from polygon and make it say 0.006, just so that it's a little faster to calculate. Okay, so what we want to do is again, take a measure. This will be simple, like we're not going to do anything too complicated here, and keep it to points, and we just want to calculate curvature. And we can try doing principal. You can actually work, you can check out both, right? So I'll just take a color and I can make this say slightly pink or something. So I'll do a ramp from attribute and pick up curvature, and let's just see how much this is. This is again minus 0.25 and 0.12. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, and you can try to color it with this. So let's try to do like, let's make it pinkish, and this will be like a little bit lighter like that. Same in pink, but just lighter. Yeah, actually that's not bad. You could try to adjust it a little bit. You could pull in this thing, or maybe we could try like a red. Okay, that looks fancy. That looks a little bloody, but okay, let's try something. Let's make this a little bit pale. Or yeah, or you can come in here and change this to like curvedness, and then check the value again. So this is like, okay, 0 to 0.2. So 0 and 0.2. Okay, this isn't bad. Let's just keep this out. Now, one of the things you can do with this is, because usually it'll be quite, harsh. So what I can do is I can just take a smooth and, just smoothen it out. So we can just like, let's take this negative. Okay. And take a smooth in the middle over here. Okay, by default it will try to smoothen out the geometry because it's kept to principle, but we can change that to curvature. And so what that will do is it will sort of smoothen out the curvature. See, so if I bypass this, see, it's quite harsh, and you can sort of soften it out. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. And then I can just plug this in here. So if you come up, you'll see something a little bit better. Yeah, there you go. And then we can merge these two together. So let's take a transform, because we need to see how, higher up we want to move this. Yeah. So just plug a transform in there, and yeah, plug a transform, and we'll just move it up to around this level. Okay. And then we can merge them together. Like, I have my older stuff being merged, but we'll worry about that later. I'll clean before I upload the files. I'll clean it up so that it's not very confusing or anything. But there you go. You can pick better colors. Okay, so you can just sort of go with whatever you want. It's going to be difficult to play this back, but I'll just try to go a little frame by frame so we can see what we're getting. Yeah, so there you go. So there's the whole animation that we have made. Okay, so in the next lesson, we'll just take a brief look at how to render this. Like, the rendering stuff wasn't really part of the whole training, but since I made an animation, I figured, okay, I'll just do a basic render of it. I'll do it using Mantra, but you can just pick any renderer that you want, because the shader work isn't particularly complicated.